What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sports Earth. In this video, I will be doing yet another mock draft for you guys, but this one, it's going to have a little bit of a twist. If you saw the thumbnail, you know that I am going to have trades in this mock draft, and it's going to be a fun one. I always love including trades in these mock drafts, but I haven't done a mock draft with trades on this channel yet, so it's just going to be one round, but we will have trades in this one. So if you saw my video yesterday, you know that the Miami Dolphins shook up the NFL draft order. So we saw the San Francisco 49ers move up from number 12 to number 3. We saw the Dolphins fall back from number 3 to number 6. And the Eagles move down from number 6 down to number 12. So that's going to really impact the way we look at this draft. Because the Niners, they're likely coming in here for a quarterback. Miami, they're still going to be in the range for a very, very good player. They're at number 6, and Philadelphia at number 12, there's a chance that they don't get what they possibly want falling to them. So it's going to be a super interesting mock draft. A lot of very good players in this draft, and I'm using the Draft Network's predictive board because my 300-player big board is finished, but it still has to go through editing. I still have to edit the big board, but that will be done in the next week or two, and I will have a big video on that for you guys, ranking my top 300 prospects, but that is not the focus of this video, so we're going to get right into this thing. This mock draft is officially underway. Number 1 overall, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a very easy pick. There's no question. Trevor Lawrence is the pick here. Number 2 overall for the New York Jets. So I was talking about this on Discord with somebody last night, and I think that the Jets are down to taking a quarterback, either Wilson, Lance, or Fields, or taking Penei Sewell, and I guess trading down is an option as well, but they are the only players that I think that the Jets would select here at number 2 overall, and it's a tough pick for the Jets because they seem like they like Sam Darnold, and I'm not really sure that Penei Sewell is going to go up here, but they really seem to like Sam Darnold. Zach Wilson seems to be the consensus number 2 pick. But I could easily see a trade down here if there was a team willing to give up just so much to jump up. But I could certainly see the Jets trading down. They have the number 23 overall pick, so they have that pick as well. And I could certainly see a trade down here because they seem to like Sam Darnold enough possibly to keep him for at least one more season. See, now that they have Corey Davis with him, see if they can't fit him in, potentially get a functioning offense. So I think the Jets could certainly trade down here. But the other side of that is if they value Sam Darnold, that means other teams around the league probably value Sam Darnold too, which could potentially mean a trade bringing back some pretty good value for the Jets. And I think that's what's going to end up ultimately happening. I think the Jets will draft Zach Wilson, and I think they're going to get some pretty good value in a trade with involving Sam Darnold. I just don't see Darnold as the starting quarterback of the New York Jets next season. I mean, I think it's a possibility, but I just don't see it. I think Darnold gets traded and for pretty good value, so I think the Jets take Zach Wilson at number 2 overall. Number 3 overall, the San Francisco 49ers, they are down to 2 players with Zach Wilson off the board, and those 2 players are Trey Lance and Justin Fields. So Trey Lance has already had his pro day. Justin Fields has not yet had his pro day, and that's kind of important when you look at this thing because the 49ers traded up yesterday. This video is being filmed on Saturday. The 49ers, they traded up yesterday to get this number 3 pick. So they've already seen Trey Lance's pro day, but they have not yet seen Justin Fields and his throwing at his pro day. So I think this is an interesting pick. Trey Lance has a much higher ceiling than Justin Fields, but he maybe isn't ready to come in year 1 and start. So I'm really thinking Trey Lance is the pick here just because of his potential. The 49ers seem like they're willing to keep Jimmy Garoppolo around for at least one more season. So I see Trey Lance as the pick here. He's already had his pro day. He has much higher potential, and he's going to fit well into the Kyle Shanahan system, but Justin Fields would as well. So that's not really saying much because Fields would fit in just as well. So number 4 here, the Atlanta Falcons. They're in a tough situation here at number 4. I can certainly see a trade down if they're not ready to take a quarterback. And they may not be ready to take a quarterback. Matt Ryan, they can probably get rid of him after this upcoming season. But with his contract, they can't really get rid of him right now. So Justin Fields would have to sit for a year if the Falcons were to take him. He'd have to sit for at least 1 season. And this is the number 4 overall pick that we are talking about. The Falcons could trade back and not take a quarterback. But I just don't know if that's the route that they're looking for. I've been sort of iffy on this pick ever since they locked into this number 4 slot. I've been really iffy on whether or not they go quarterback, just considering where Matt Ryan is and where his contract is and where his career is. This is a really tough pick for the Atlanta Falcons, but I am going to have them taking Justin Fields. No trade down, no other player being selected. I do have the Atlanta Falcons selecting Justin Fields. Number 5 overall, the Cincinnati Bengals. I think this one is definitely down to either Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase. Probably the 2 best players left on the board, but I'd say this pick is down to those 2 because you have Sewell. Sewell is one of the best offensive tackle prospects that we have seen in a very long time. He is so polished coming out of Oregon. Now, I know that some teams are sort of concerned with just with his play, but I am sold on him. I think that he's going to be a really, really good NFL player. But then you have Jamar Chase, who was Joe Burrow's favorite wide receiver in his breakout year at LSU. And this pick would make a lot of sense. The Bengals, they took T. Higgins last year in the 2nd round, and they have Tyler Boyd. They have Auden Tate as well, but there's just not really much there at receiver after those top 2 players, Boyd and Higgins. Higgins had an amazing rookie season. He was one of the best offensive rookies in all of the NFL, but Burrow really wants Jamar Chase, and for good reason, because Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, that was one of the best quarterback wide receiver duos that we've ever seen in their one dynamic season together in college. So I could certainly see the Bengals picking Chase, but I could also see them picking Sewell. I don't think they go with Raeshawn Slater here, but I do think that is a possibility here. This pick depends on where they rank Sewell as compared to Slater. But I don't think that they're going to go out there and pick Jamar Chase. I think they take Penei Sewell. It would kind of make sense for them to go pick Jamar Chase just because of that college connection. Burrow really wants him. But Joe Burrow tore his ACL last season because of the offensive line of the Cincinnati Bengals, and Penei Sewell is a guy who can come in immediately and fix that issue so Joe Burrow does not suffer another ugly injury. Miami Dolphins at number 6, they have their pick of any wide receiver. This pick is obviously going to be one of those top 3 wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, or Devontae Smith. So they have Devontae Parker, who they wanted to be a number 1 wide receiver, but he just probably is not that. And then they signed Will Fuller, but he's only on a 1-year contract, so he might not be there for that long. And I think Jamar Chase is the pick here. I think Jamar Chase is the pick for the Miami Dolphins. He's the best wide receiver on the board, and he can come in and be their true number 1 and just slide Devontae Parker down. I think Parker is a great player, but he's not the true number 1 that the Dolphins are expecting him to be. And I think Jamar Chase can come in and be just that. Number 7 overall, the Detroit Lions. I think this is a pretty straightforward, pretty easy pick. Jalen Waddle is the selection here for the Detroit Lions. The Lions, they need wide receiver help. They lost Kenny Golladay. They lost Marvin Jones. They need wide receivers. Waddle, the best one on the board. His speed is going to kill in the NFL, and I expect him to have a great NFL career. Coming to Detroit, I think this is a good pickup for the Lions. Number 8 overall, Carolina Panthers here. I don't think they go with Mac Jones. This is certainly a possibility. Mac Jones, certainly a possibility here as a pick for the Carolina Panthers, but I don't think they take him at number 8 overall. Slater still on the board. Even Christian Darrisaw, possibly a pick that the Panthers could select. But I see one player here that's still on the board, and he goes by the name of Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is a generational talent. He's not just a tight end. He's a wide receiver. He's a slot guy. He is anything that you could imagine him being in an offense. Kyle Pitts is that. I don't even know how to describe his game. He's just so good. He can just do so many different things, and I think he can really take this Carolina Panthers offense to the next level. Teddy Bridgewater, once you give him Kyle Pitts, a healthy Christian McCaffrey, and then the receivers that they have, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, I think this can be a really deadly offense. Carolina Panthers selecting Kyle Pitts at number 8 overall. Number 9 overall, the Denver Broncos. We could potentially see Mac Jones go here at number 9 to Denver. Drew Lock has really struggled so far in the NFL, so I'm not sure that Denver is totally sold on Drew Lock and his game, but I could see a potential trade up if the Broncos feel confident in one of the top 3 cornerbacks sliding to a potential later pick. I could certainly see a trade up, and I think I am going to make a trade, so I'm going to do the negotiation. I'm going to do the trade off camera, and you guys will see when I come back who I have the Denver Broncos selecting. Alright, so as you can see on the screen, I have made a trade. The Washington football team and the Denver Broncos have conducted a trade. So I have the Washington football team trading up. So I know they signed Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I think that this team is willing to be aggressive, willing to get a quarterback that can come into the NFL and be very solid, and that guy is Mac Jones. So this first trade up of this mock draft, they feel that maybe Mac Jones won't be on the board at number 19, and I think that's certainly a possibility. You see the New England Patriots here potentially in the market for Mac Jones. And then other potential trade ups, maybe like the Chicago Bears. There's other teams that could trade up for Mac Jones, but I think the Washington football team, I think they have a feeling that they can go out there and they can win the NFC East for the second straight year. So getting themselves a solid quarterback and just having 2 good options at quarterback this season, I think is something that Washington would be interested in. Number 10 overall, the Dallas Cowboys. So you see who's left on the board. And I have the Cowboys selecting Patrick Surtain, the cornerback from Alabama, pairing him with his old teammate, Trevin Diggs. I think they can be one of the better young corner duos in the NFL, but Patrick Surtain, he's already so polished coming into the NFL, and he has a really high ceiling as well. So I like this pick for the Dallas Cowboys, getting themselves a guy who can really help that defense, because with Dak Prescott back healthy, this offense is going to be really, really good. Number 11, the New York Giants. They are in a little bit of an interesting spot now. They could potentially go offensive line. Maybe Raeshawn Slater could be a pick that they go with, especially with the releasing of Kevin Zeitler. Slater can come in and play the right guard position. You look at maybe Elijah Vera Tucker, another guy who could come in and play guard, but he's more of a left guard, and he has some versatility at tackle. And you would have to move Will Hernandez around, so I'm not really sure that's what you would want to do. Slater, he can be moved around a lot. I'm not really sure. I feel like tackle and center are his better positions, but he'd be a good guard as well. And that might be the pick for the Giants, but also I could see a trade down here again. The Giants, they're just in a really tough position because all those top receivers, or Kyle Pitts, he is the guy that they would be most likely to take because they signed Kenny Golladay in free agency, so wide receiver no longer a really big need. I don't see them taking a corner, probably not a linebacker, and then this is just too high for any of those edge rushers. So I could see a trade down here, but you'd really have to consider who would be trading up. And this is sort of an interesting spot for teams to be in. The Giants, they could certainly go with Raeshawn Slater, but they had a good free agency. They signed a big ticket free agent in Kenny Golladay, and I can certainly see them willing to trade back. So I think I'm going to look into this and see if I can find a trade partner for the Giants, but if not, I will make a selection. So I'll be back whenever I decide what to do with this Giants number 11 overall pick. All right, so as you can see, I did find a trade partner for the New York Giants. I have them trading with the Chicago Bears here. So I have the Bears trading up for Devontae Smith. They could easily go with Slater or Darisaw, somebody to help out that offensive line, but Andy Dalton, he's their quarterback right now. They don't really have a future at quarterback at the current moment, but Dalton can be a solid bridge quarterback for maybe a younger player. And Devontae Smith, he's a guy that can come in. Allen Robinson, there's some uncertainty there. And I think Smith is a guy that the Bears would be interested in taking. I know most mocks have them just staying at number 20 and picking Rashad Bateman, but I think they'd be willing to be aggressive and come up for Devontae Smith. And now that puts the Philadelphia Eagles in a really, really tough position as we see all the top 3 wide receivers off the board and that top tight end Kyle Pitts off the board. So with all of those guys off the board, Philadelphia now, they just can't take any of those pass catchers that would have been ideal picks. The offensive line is still really, really good. Those guys are getting older, but it's still a really good position group. I don't really know what Philly would do in this situation with the Bears hopping just right over them and taking a wide receiver. Philly now in a really tough position. Their group of linebackers is really weak, and I could see Philadelphia taking a guy like Micah Parsons. He can come in and just be a good linebacker. You can sort of move him around some. Micah Parsons is a guy you can move around, and I think Micah Parsons is the pick here for Philly. Jalen Hurts, he doesn't have many weapons, but they can't afford to really reach here at this point in the draft. So I have Micah Parsons the pick here for the Philadelphia Eagles. Los Angeles Chargers here at number 13. I've got the Chargers taking Christian Darrisaw. I believe I picked this in every single mock draft that I've done. It just makes so much sense. The Chargers picking a good pass protector in Christian Darrisaw to help protect their second-year quarterback, Justin Herbert. The Minnesota Vikings now on the clock. This is a very tough pick, I think, for the Minnesota Vikings because they are a team that can be a playoff contender. The offensive line needs some help. So you look at Raeshawn Slater, you look at Elijah Vera Tucker. I think you're choosing between one of these two at this point. And I think Vera Tucker is the better fit for what Minnesota needs, but also what they have. And what they run. So I think Elijah Vera Tucker is the pick here. He's a very talented player and a guy who can come in right away and be a good player. New England Patriots here at number 15. This is a very tough pick. All of those quarterbacks off the board, those top wide receivers off the board. They signed the tight ends, so they have some weapons now on the offensive side of the ball. We've only picked one corner so far. Stephon Gilmore and trade rumors. J.C. Jackson might not be in New England forever. So I could see that as the potential fit. New England taking one of those corners available. But also, linebacker is an interesting position. Wusu Coramoa is a guy who's going to be moving around a lot in the NFL. And I'm not sure that he's going to fit in the role that New England needs. I think Wusu Coramoa would fit in other roles better than what New England is looking for. So I'm not really sure JOK is the pick here. Patriots, typical trade down scenario for the New England Patriots. That's typically what you see. And there's plenty of teams out there that would be happy to trade up and get a guy like a Raeshawn Slater or a J.C. Horn who are still on the board. So I could certainly see a trade down here. Patriots, they seem to trade down a lot. And there are some teams that could definitely fly up the board to get a Raeshawn Slater type player. So I think I'm going to look into some potential trades that could happen just with this Patriots team. So I know it's kind of a smaller trade, but I have the Raiders trading up 2 picks to hop over any other potential trading teams, and I have them here to select Raeshawn Slater. Slater is a guy who the Raiders, they need because they got rid of Gabe Jackson, they got rid of Trent Brown, they got rid of Rodney Hudson. So their offensive line looking really weak right now, and Slater is a guy who you can move around. And with this offensive line having so many holes, they can just pick up Slater and they can move him around anywhere where he may slot in. Number 16 overall, the Arizona Cardinals. I have them selecting J.C. Horn. I think this is a pretty easy pick for the Cardinals. We see, where is he? Caleb Farley. We see him starting to slide because of his potential back issues. So typically he's in this range, but now we see him at least the third quarterback taken, and behind Horn, behind Surtain, and now at number 17, the Patriots. With those two guys off the board, they can sort of reevaluate and sort of rethink their selections. So with the Patriots team being where it is, all of the big free agency signings that they made, I could see them potentially going out there being interested in drafting a wide receiver. I think that's a possibility. Um, it's obviously too early to draft a guy like a Kyle Trask. So quarterback certainly off the board here, with all those top quarterbacks out. And the Patriots, they're in a really tough position here. There's so many different ways that they could go. They could even take one of these corners. I could see maybe an Aaron Robinson type guy going here. This is a tough pick. I really don't know what to do here for the New England Patriots, just being in the position that they're in. I think I'm going to have the Patriots selecting Rashad Bateman. N'Keal Harry, he's been kind of iffy ever since being selected in the first round. Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, they might not last too long in New England. And if that is the case, then New England, they're going to want some sort of backup option. And Bateman, he can come into the NFL, be a very good player right away, and a guy who can develop into a top level receiver. So I think this number 17 pick, I think that's a pretty good pick for the Patriots, taking Rashad Bateman. Number 18 overall, the Miami Dolphins. We saw them take Jamar Chase, so they've got wide receiver crossed off because of that Jamar Chase selection. And now we're looking at Miami. They could use a guy like a JOK, a Jeremiah Wusu Coramoa. That is a pick that I think would make a lot of sense for Miami. They just have some holes on this team. So I think Wusu Coramoa, and this is a very solid team, but they have some spots, especially on defense. I could see Jalen Phillips. I could see Wusu Coramoa. Maybe even Najee Harris, but I don't think that Miami goes with a running back here. So I am going to have the Dolphins take Jeremiah Wusu Coramoa. He's going to be a very versatile player in any NFL defense that he goes to. I know this might be a little bit of a stretch, but you can kind of compare him to a guy like an Isaiah Simmons from last year, just with the way that defenses are going to be able to move him around in their system. Denver Broncos here at number 19. Broncos, they're in a tough spot because they're ready to contend, but Drew Lock just is not the quarterback that they want, the quarterback that they have, the quarterback that they need to contend. Denver's in a tough spot. They've upgraded that secondary a lot, but I still see that Caleb Farley pick as a possibility. I know I loved that pick so far in the draft process, but now he's going to start sliding because of his back injury. The Broncos, depending on whatever happens with Jawan James, they could potentially be in the market for an offensive tackle, and there's still plenty of offensive tackles here on the board. Sam Cosmi is a guy who can play right tackle. And considering what they have, that might actually be the pick here. Sam Cosmi. That might be the pick here. I think I am going to go with Sam Cosmi from Texas playing the right tackle spot. Number 20 overall, the New York Giants. They traded down, so they have not picked yet. And I'm looking at edge rusher. I'm looking at potentially one of these top two linebackers. This is a tough pick right here for the Giants. You could even justify taking one of these corners because, these would be some pretty good options. Maybe not Eric Stokes. Last time they drafted a Georgia corner didn't really work out. So, Giants here, they're in a really tough spot. Tight end's kind of an iffy position. I'm not sure you go out and take Freiermuth or Brevin Jordan at this point in the draft. The Giants, what can I see the Giants doing here at number 20? This is low enough to maybe start taking those edge rushers. Probably Phillips, Pay, maybe, or definitely Ojulari is up here. And I think that, let's see, so they lost Dalvin Tomlinson in free agency. I think Azeez Ojulari is the pick here for the New York Giants. He's really rising. He is potentially the best edge defender in this class, and I have the Giants taking him and plugging him into that defense. This is a rising team, I'd say. The New York Giants. Indianapolis Colts here at number 21. The Colts are in a really tough position. Jalen Mayfield, a guy who can be moved around, but they have to go offensive line, and one way or another, offensive line is a must-have. Somebody at this tackle position. So you see Tevin Jenkins. He's not really what they're eyeing for because he's going to be a little bit more of a developmental guy. With Costanzo retiring, they have a big hole at that left tackle spot They have Braden Smith at right tackle. They can maybe move him over, or they can move over one of these guys that they draft. Dylan Radunes is a guy that I'm really looking at. I could see him playing. Certainly, I could see him playing in for the Colts. This is a tough pick. The Colts are in a really tough situation. Jalen Mayfield, another guy that I could see picked here. I believe I picked Liam Eichenberg last time because I know that he's the guy that can safely be plugged in at left tackle. And I think I'm going to keep that safe pick for the Indianapolis Colts. I know it's not a very popular pick, but it's a safe thing that the Colts have to do to stay in AFC playoff contention. They have to get a guy who can be good right away. And Liam Eichenberg can be just that. He can plug in the left tackle immediately. Tennessee Titans at number 22. They cut Adoree Jackson. They no longer have Malcolm Butler. So corner is a big need. They lost Corey Davis and they lost Jonnu Smith. So certainly all of a sudden this team just isn't looking that amazing. They kind of need a wide receiver. They definitely need a corner. But also tight end is kind of a need. I'm not really sure I would take any of these tight ends. These are some good tight ends, but I'm not really sure that I would take any of them at this point. So I think we're looking at a choice for the Titans between Terrace Marshall or one of probably either Newsome or Stokes. And I think Eric Stokes is going to be the pick here. They drafted an athletic, speedy corner last time they made a big corner pickup in Adoree Jackson. And I think they go a similar route here with Eric Stokes. Stokes with his sub 4.3 40. He's a very speedy player. Doesn't play quite that fast, it seems like, on the field. But Eric Stokes, a guy who can come into the NFL, help out this Titans defense very, very early on. Jets here at number 23. The Jets, they have to go corner. It seems like they signed Corey Davis in free agency. So wide receiver, maybe not as much of a need as maybe it once was. Edge rusher, also a position they could go to. But I'm looking at Greg Newsome. I'm looking at Aaron Robinson. But I could also see Jalen Phillips or maybe a Gregory Rousseau. This is a big pick for the Jets because they got their quarterback of the future. And now they have to help him out. But I think corner has to be the pick here. And I'm leaning towards Greg Newsome. Aaron Robinson is another guy who I could see them picking, but I think Newsome would be the pick that makes more sense. I think Greg Newsome is going to be this pick. I think he makes more sense for what the Jets need. So Greg Newsome, number 23 overall to the New York Jets. Number 24 overall, the Pittsburgh Steelers. We could potentially see them looking at somebody to play the interior of the offensive line. Tevin Jenkins, I think, is also a pick. I don't think they go running back. Najee Harris would be the pick if they went running back, but I don't think they go running back here in this first round. And I think Tevin Jenkins is actually going to be the pick here. Alejandro Villanueva, they lost him. They lost Pouncey at center. But I don't really value any of the centers that are left on the board. You see Landon Dickerson, Creed Humphrey. I just don't really value those guys high enough. So number 25 overall, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think you have to invest in protecting Trevor Lawrence. That has to be their number one priority. After seeing what happened to Joe Burrow after he was picked by the Cincinnati Bengals, they have to protect Trevor Lawrence in one way or another. So there are some good offensive tackles here on the board. And keep in mind, they also have the number 33 pick, so they could bet on one of the offensive tackles falling and taking one of those guys there. And I think that's certainly a possibility. I think that they could very well do that. You can maybe invest in a Christian Barmore type player here at number 25. This would be pretty solid value for Christian Barmore. I don't think you would go wide receiver. Terrace Marshall, though, that would be kind of a fun pick. They signed Marvin Jones, but he's, of course, only a short-term option, so he's not really going to be a guy that you hold on to long-term. So the Jaguars roster, it has a lot of holes. And they have definitely a lot of options to choose from here. But I'm thinking either Dylan Radunes, Jalen Mayfield also, I guess, an option, or Christian Barmore. But I think you go with Jalen Mayfield. I think he has the higher ceiling than Dylan Radunes, and he's a guy, he has some big-time experience at Michigan. Now, he wasn't amazing. He's sort of iffy. I'm not super high on him as a prospect. But I think this is a pretty solid pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars, a guy who can come in and help protect Trevor Lawrence. Number 26 overall, the Cleveland Browns. They signed Takaris McKinley to replace Olivier Vernon, but they need an edge rusher. They still do need a guy. I think that is the pick here. I think they take one of these top edge rushers, and Jalen Phillips, I think, is going to be the pick here. Baltimore Ravens, they lost Matt Judon, so I think they have to go edge. They got Sammy Watkins, so he can be sort of a short-term filler for this wide receiver position until they find a guy who can maybe be their true number one. But I think they have to go with edge rusher here. They have to get a guy on that edge who can be a dominant pass rusher, and there's a lot of those guys here in this class on the board. It might not be Pay, though. Kwity Paye might not really fit what they're looking for. Osai would fit well in the 3-4 system. He's a good pass rusher. Losing Matt Judon in free agency to the Patriots. I think Osai is going to be the pick here. I know it might not be super popular. He's not the top edge rusher on the board, but I think he's the best fit for the system and what Baltimore needs. Number 28 overall, the New Orleans Saints. I think they're looking here at a corner. I think corner has to be the pick here for the New Orleans Saints. I can't see Caleb Farley falling this far. He's already fallen so far, but I do have him going here at number 28 to the New Orleans Saints. He can be a good boundary corner across from Marshawn Lattimore. Number 29 overall, the Green Bay Packers. Do they get Davante Adams some help at wide receiver? Finally, there's definitely a lot of good wide receivers here on the board. There's so many good guys to choose from. We see corner across from Jair Alexander. That's a really iffy position. But with all those guys flying off the board, I'm not sure that cornerback is the pick. Let's see what else. Offensive tackle. Bakhtiari suffered the season-ending injury, and then across from him at right tackle is a so-so position. I'm not sure you really take any of these guys here, just with what Green Bay has, what they're looking at. So I think this pick is down to one of those wide receivers. And probably not one of those corners, actually. I think Green Bay goes with a wide receiver here. I could see Elijah Moore. I'm not really sure about Elijah Moore, but I could definitely see this being a pick that the Packers make. I'm going to go with it. Elijah Moore, he's a highly valued receiver by many teams. He's a good slot guy. He's only, I believe he's 5'9". Yep, he is 5'9", 184 pounds. So he's a very small receiver, but that's not necessarily, they don't necessarily need a big guy with Davante Adams on the other side. Number 30 overall, the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo's in a really tough spot here. So they got rid of John Brown, but they have Gabriel Davis. They still have Cole Beasley, and of course, Stephon Gilmore. So wide receiver, maybe not a pick that they make. I could honestly see Buffalo trading out of the first round because I don't think they go edge, and I don't think they go corner. I could see a team maybe trading up, trying to pick up maybe a guy like Kwity Paye, or sliding in here and getting one of these running backs before they're gone. I could definitely see a team trading up for maybe an edge rusher. So I think I'm going to look at some possible trades that the Buffalo Bills can make because none of these picks here really make a lot of sense. I guess Aaron Robinson. They could take Aaron Robinson. I think that would be a good pick at corner. I'm not really sure how he would fit in Buffalo's defense. I'm not really sure about that. So I think I'm going to look at some potential trade offers for Buffalo. So have the Los Angeles Chargers trading back into the first round. So they have the 47th pick in the second round. So they're not insanely low. Here's the trade details. Of course, since this is only a one-round mock draft, I'm not necessarily trying to make these trades realistic. But they have this 47th pick, so they're not too far out of the first round. So I think it is possible for them to trade back in. I'm trying to keep the teams realistic, but of course the trades, as you can see, it's not a very realistic trade. But that's not really my focus because we're just trying to make the teams realistic. But since it is only a one-round mock draft, I'm not necessarily focused on making realistic trades. And I've done that for all of the trades that I've made so far in this mock draft. So the Chargers, I have them trading up back into the first round. Melvin Ingram, of course, Joey Bosa there. But you got Jerry Tillery, likely your edge rusher on the other side across from Bosa. So I think Kwity Paye is the pick here. Kick Tillery inside. I like Kwity Paye in the system. I like Kwity Paye across from Joey Bosa as a starting defensive end. I don't think I've seen the Chargers trading back in once, and I don't think I've seen them take an edge rusher at all, but it makes sense taking Kwity Paye here trading back in at number 30 overall. Number 31 overall, the Kansas City Chiefs. They have to get some offensive line help. I think that has to be their priority right now. Even though all these top guys are off the board, I feel like they have to get somebody. I feel like they have to, but I just don't see a lot of good options for the Chiefs. Dylan Radunes, he doesn't really fit their system. Kansas City's in a really tough spot here, I think. You could definitely take one of these linebackers, and that might actually be my pick. I think I go with one of these linebackers. I think it's going to be Baron Browning. I know over Nick Bolton, over Zayvon Collins, but I think I am going to take Baron Browning here with the number 31 overall pick. And number 32 overall, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, they need some interior defensive line help. Christian Barmore still on the board. They could use some interior offensive line help. I'm probably not taking any of these guys. So they could even take one of these edge rushers. There's still a lot of good edge rushers remaining here on the board. So I could certainly see one of these edge defenders being taken. But I think Christian Barmore is going to be the pick. It makes the most sense, them taking Christian Barmore. And that is it for this mock draft. So number 1 overall, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence. Number 2, New York Jets take Zach Wilson. Top 4 picks, all quarterbacks. Penei Sewell goes at number 5. I'm just going to sort of scroll through this. I have Washington trading up for a quarterback in Mac Jones. I've got the Bears trading up for Devontae Smith. I've got the Raiders trading up a couple picks for Raeshawn Slater. I actually, now that I think about this, I don't think it would be too crazy for the Cardinals to maybe move down the board some. And still get one of those good corners, but maybe move down the board some, pick up some picks. I know they're trying to contend, so maybe that doesn't make a lot of sense, but I think it's certainly in play. I've got the Patriots surprisingly taking a wide receiver here in Rashad Bateman. I mean, it's good value at number 17, but it's just I think a little out there. Definitely not something I've seen, but I think it is a possibility. Taking Rashad Bateman at number 17 if the Patriots were to make a trade with the Raiders. Broncos, Giants trading down, picking up some good pieces that will fill in some holes. Colts getting their plug-and-play tackle in Liam Eichenberg. I've got the Jets taking corner, Steelers taking a tackle, and I have the Jaguars taking a tackle to protect Trevor Lawrence. And then I have the Chargers trading back into the first round to get Kwity Paye to go across from Joey Bosa. But that is all I have for this video, so be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, and let me know in the comments what you thought about my picks. What did you think? I want to hear it all in the comments. What picks did you like? What picks did you not like? What would you change? I want to hear it all. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and go subscribe to my live streaming channel and my Clemson channel. If you are not already subscribed to either of those, they will each be linked in the description, as they always are. And I'll see you guys next time here on Sports Earth.